Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Sandeep Walia, Head of the Department, University Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Chandigarh University. Today, we are going to discuss the module Senior Tourism under the paper Special Interest Tourism. After completing this module, students will be able to figure out the concept and meaning of accessibility, accessible tourism and senior tourism. The student will also be aware about the difference between accessible tourism and senior tourism. They will also be aware about the various organizations working for the accessibility in India and in the world. The students will also come to know about the various problems in accessibility and accessible tourism. Later, the students will also become familiar with the accessible tourism in India. Dear students, tourism is a booming industry in the world. Today, tourism is expanding very fast. Tourism has now become the main finance generating domain of many countries. Many countries are introducing new concepts to develop their tourism widely. Tourism is the backbone of any nation. It creates a lot of finance to the country. The tourism is of many types like adventure tourism, ecotourism, green tourism, religious tourism, etc. There are also other types which are in its introductory stage. One of the most fastly developing types of tourism is senior tourism and accessible tourism. Mostly famous in Europe, senior tourism is widely accepted by the other countries also. Senior tourism is also known as accessible tourism, as senior tourism is for the people of the age of 60 and above. It becomes difficult for an old person to travel. That's why the term accessible tourism is introduced to make everything accessible and easy to use. It is one of the major forces of this era. There are many countries in the world where the number of old people is more than the youngsters. That's why these countries are being targeted by the tourism department of many countries. Dear students, let us discuss the concept of accessible tourism and senior tourism. Accessible tourism. Accessible tourism is not only for seniors, it's also for differently abled people of the world, as everything is made accessible and easy to use, like accessible buses, lifts, rails, etc. Every human wants to travel. Some want to travel for leisure, some want to travel for health, and some want to travel for business. But there are some other people like seniors and differently abled who cannot travel because of their disability, as it becomes difficult for them to use things like lifts, buses, trains. That's why these things are made accessible so that these things can be easily used. Taking an example of stairs, a disabled person with wheelchair cannot use stairs. He needs a lift or a ramp to go. Hospitals, railway stations, bus stands, public buildings, etc. are some places where lift or ramp is a must. Accessibility is must if we want disabled person to travel. Let us discuss about senior tourism. Senior tourism is another type of tourism in which accessibility plays a vital role, but only for seniors. Seniors are in that phase of life where their body stops working properly. Seniors are like children. They cannot do things at their own. They need assistance of someone in difficult things. Some seniors cannot use lifts, automated systems because of the lack of knowledge and complex features. Taking an example of a ticketing system in railways, it is difficult for a senior to stand in a queue, and it's also complicated for them to use automatic ticket machine because of the lack of the knowledge. This makes them uncomfortable and they neglect traveling alone. Senior tourism works on making services more accessible so that they can travel alone, easily and comfortably. Senior tourism is very much famous in the whole world, and Europe is the best place for a senior tourism. European organization working for senior tourism in the countries of Europe. Let us now discuss about problems a senior or disabled tourists face during their travel. There are many types of problems a senior tourist may face which can make them angry or sad and can lead to a worst experience. Following are the sum of problems that are very much common. Improper behavior of local people. Seniors are in that phase of life where they cannot understand anything easily, and because of disability, a disabled person also cannot understand things easily. This type of behavior can make others angry. The second one is the lack of knowledge. There are new technological and automated machines that are difficult for a senior or a disabled to use because of the disability of the disabled person. The third one is the lack of lifts and ramps. It is difficult for an old person and a disabled person to use stairs. Therefore, lift is must for them. Ramp is also accessible to them. Audio announcements. In rail systems, audio and video announcements help them in reminding that next is their station. The next one is the unavailability of medical help. Unavailability of medical help is another problem because they may need medical help anytime. There are many problems that are still unclear because of lack of knowledge, as this tourism is new to many people. Accessible tourism and senior tourism are somehow interlinked, but they are different because senior tourism is only for people who are more than the age of 60 years, but accessible tourism is both for seniors as well as for the differently abled persons. There are many countries which have already started working towards accessible tourism, like America, Japan and France. European countries are already famous for its tourism, and now they are trying to increase their tourism in terms of accessibility and ease. Let us now discuss about the tourism organizations working for the accessibility. Let us take first the UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization. It was formed in the year 1975. Its headquarters is in Madrid, Spain. The World Tourism Organization promotes responsible, sustainable and universally accessible tourism. It promotes the tourism as a driver of economic growth, inclusive development and environmental sustainability, as it is the leading organization of tourism of the world. United Nations is always working to make equal laws. United Nations is also dealing with tourism industry all over the globe. Let us now discuss about the role of United Nations World Tourism Organization in accessible tourism. On 26 September in the year 2016, United Nations World Tourism Organization declared Tourism for All, promoting accessible tourism, which focused on making destinations accessible easily. This theme made everyone aware of accessibility, and many hotels started accepting accessibility. Whole world is now updating their destinations, services, amenities, etc. with new techniques to make them more efficient and usable easily. According to the World Health Organization, 50% of the total world population is living with some kind of disability. This 15% constitutes around 1 billion people. United Nations World Tourism Organization has asked to include accessibility as a main part in the tourism policies. United Nations World Tourism Organization has taken many initiatives to make tourism accessible for everyone. Accessible tourism for all. This was the theme of the year 2016 of United Nations World Tourism Organization. This is a form of tourism in which well-developed automated systems are used for the better accessibility of seniors and disabled persons. This requires full involvement of stakeholders, local community, etc. for developing services more easily and effectively. Let us discuss about the European Network for Accessible Tourism. After United Nations World Tourism Organization, European Network for Accessible Tourism is the non-profitable association of tourism working for the accessibility of the tourist. European Network for Accessible Tourism was established in the year 2006. This organization has European countries as its main members, but it also welcomes other members from out of the Europe. In the year 2012, there were almost 200 registered members from 28 different countries. In Valencia, which is in Spain, in the November 2007, the first Congress of European Network for Accessible Tourism was held, and second took place in Vienna Austria from September 30th to October 1st, 2009. Accessible tourism or tourism for all is making travel and tourism destinations, products and information suitable for all those who are suffering from some kind of disability. European Network for Accessible Tourism is also spreading accessibility in whole world, especially in the Europe. Let us now take on the objectives of European Network of Accessible Tourism. The main objectives are like spread the word about accessible tourism, improve marketing and customer information, develop and introduce service principles for accessibility in the travel and tourism business. It also aims to help in creating accessible destinations and services through improved public-private or non-governmental organizations' joint actions, to stimulate new projects and networking opportunities with actors and stakeholders. It also aims in publicize accessible travel and tourism destinations. Let us discuss about the Society for Accessible Travel and Hospitality. The Society for Accessible Travel and Hospitality was formed in the year 1976. This is an educational non-profit membership organization which is working hard to raise awareness for the needs of all travelers with some kind of problems, to make everything accessible and to make things usable for the seniors and disabled. Dear students, let us now discuss some of the problems in accessibility. First, we will discuss problems which are faced by visitors. Travel for people with disabilities is not easy or sometimes even impossible. Sometimes local community tries to avoid disabled tourists. They are unaware of the accessible things in the new destinations which make travel difficult for them. Quality of infrastructure, transport, services and information differ so much in the world. Lack of access principles increases problems and decreases travel opportunities. Let us now discuss some of the problems for the tourism industry. The accessible tourism market is weak and it seems difficult to attract tourists. Visitors' needs and requirements are not clear. Therefore, it is avoided. Investment costs are also not clear. Access is seen mainly as a problem instead of a golden opportunity. Dear students, let us now discuss that what qualities do an accessible destination needs. Accessible destinations is a dream for the people living with some kind of disability. Making a destination accessible is challenging because the tourism market is not aware of the needs of the disabled person and their requirements. It is difficult for a disabled person to move on his own because of the lack of accessibility in some public areas like the facilities of lifts, buses, rails, shops, etc. It makes them sad and it also demotivates them to make them feel burden on others. That's why a disabled person never thinks of traveling on his own. Accessibility is not only for disabled person, it's also for senior citizens. Following are few things which we can do to make places accessible. Lifts can be updated with narrating system for people lacking in good eyesight. Lifts can be updated with details printed on a lift with easily readable language. Buses should be updated in that way which makes the easy to use, like installing wide open door and creating space for wheelchairs. Ramps should be made in the buildings where lift cannot be installed. Ramps should also be made in the public areas like bus stands, railway stations, toilets, airports, etc. These are some of the common things that we can do to make a disabled person confident that he and she can travel alone. Accessibility does not mean equality, it means equity. Let us now discuss various countries or the destinations leading in providing accessibility facilities for tourists. Here is provided the list of the top most accessible destinations in the world. The first one is Playa del Carmen, Mexico. The main reason to go there is to visit the wheelchair accessible Mayan archaeological sites, Chichen Itza and Tulum. It's a rare chance for the mobility impaired and get up close to ancient monuments. The second one is the Barcelona, Spain. With 80% metro stations and 100% bus stands wheelchair accessible, even the beaches have the wheelchair access and people on the hand to help. Galapagos and Amazonia, Ecuador. Len Moreno, Vice President and Nobel Peace Prize nominee, was suffering from paraplegia, that is the paralysis of legs and lower body, and did amazing work to improve the lives of disabled people in his country. The fourth one is the Sicily in Italy. It is also leading the accessible destinations of the world. 2 Guinness World Records have been set there. First, paraplegic persons who are suffering with paraplegia to dive to 59 meters, and first blind woman to dive up to the depth of 41 meters. The fifth one is the Manchester in United Kingdom. It is famous for District National Park with well-developed facilities for disabled visitors. Then there is Melbourne, Australia. Highly accessible public transport system and compact city centers make Melbourne one of the most accessible destinations of the world. Accessible Melbourne is a free ebook that includes the most up-to-date advice for travelers with special needs. Ljubljana in Slovenia. The electric accessible vehicles make Slovenia worth a visit. Its bus network is well installed with audio and video system for the stop announcements, complemented by braille bus stop signs and tactical paths of the city. Buses allows wheelchair user access to boats. The next one is the Singapore. Singapore is the most accessible city of the Asia. Singapore works on the question what is not accessible instead of working on what is accessible. Then the next one is San Diego in USA. Most of the infrastructure of USA are accessible, but San Diego is the best for accessibility. Then the 10th destination is Vienna in Austria. It is very much famous for museums. Most of them are accessible, including Schlosskonborn. Let us now discuss about India in accessibility and accessible tourism. India is trying accessibility to a new level and is also promoting accessible tourism. There are many places where India is lacking. Many of the railway stations of the country are not easily accessible for senior citizens. Many bus stands and buses are not accessible. Most of the infrastructures are not accessible. India has always tried to do its best in each and every field and trying the same in the field of tourism also. India has already achieved many things in tourism and is striving to achieve more. India is attracting many international tourists. Many tourists come to the country for medical purposes. India is very much famous for health tourism in the world. India is now the center of attention for the tourists suffering from health issues. But India is lacking in accessibility in many fields. Though India has progressed in accessibility a lot, but still it needs more work since it is lacking in many fields. New Delhi is the capital city of India and it has developed its infrastructure in such a way that a disabled person can also enjoy the services of the city. There is wheelchair-friendly bus stands, metro stations, restaurants, etc. in the city. Let us now discuss about the Indian organizations working for accessibility and accessible tourism. The first one is the Ministry of Tourism. Ministry of Tourism is the government organization working for the tourism of the country. It has started many campaigns like Incredible India and Atithi Devo Bhava to promote the tourism of the country. Accessible India Campaign. Accessible India Campaign, also known as Sugamya Bharat, launched on the 3rd December 2015, is launched to make the country accessible for everyone. It was launched on the 3rd December because 3rd December is also celebrated as International Day of Persons with Disabilities. The scheme works under Persons with Disability Act 1995 under Section 44, 45, 46 for equal opportunities and protection of rights, which provides non-discrimination in transport to persons with disabilities. Let us now discuss some of the works done under this campaign. An online library, Sugamya Pustakaya, was launched under the scheme by the Department of Empowerment in August 2016 for disabled persons. 400 out of nearly 1800 websites of government were made accessible. The Then the second is Samartham. Samartham is a non-government organization working for the accessibility in the country. It was formed by the person with disability in the year 1994 and registered in the year 2001. It is a part of special consultative status with United Nations Economic and Social Council. They are working in the 5 countries of Asia, and these countries includes India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Philippines. Samartham is working on 2 campaigns. The first is National Center for Accessible Environment, which works for the universal accessibility in transport system, technology, communication system, and the second one is Women with Disabilities Forum for Action ensures the rights of girls and women with disability. A group of 20 wheelchair girls who are the member of wheelchair flying group visited Delhi metro stations to check the accessibility. They travelled from Rajouri Garden to Akshardham metro station and back. They experienced the accessible facilities like wide AFC gates, lifts meant for wheelchair users, charging the electrical wheelchair from the electric sockets in the metro, etc. Delhi Metro is the most wheelchair friendly network in the country. All station has ramps from the street so that the presence of wheelchair can directly roll up to the station. The buttons in the lifts are installed at low levels so that a person with disability can use them easily. These buttons are also have inscriptions in braille for the use of visually challenged. Other special arrangements are also made for visually disabled persons like tiles with tactile marking and have been provided outside the lift so that they can follow these to go directly to the trains. Special spots are created for wheelchair persons. Let us now discuss about disabled friendly accessible restaurants in Delhi. Following are some of the restaurants in the capital city of the country which is wheelchair friendly. The first one is the Indian Ascent. Indian Ascent has ramp for wheelchair which makes it wheelchair friendly restaurant. All American dinners. The sweet stuff and savory treat will make you visit again and again. Wheelchair friendly and comfortable. Set Z. It is also the list of most accessible restaurant in the city. Its services are unique, taste make it a good option. And Fio? Fio is an outdoor restaurant with candles and Sangeria makes it a perfect place for dinner. And yes, staff is also amiable. Then there is Cafe Lota. It is a fun place to dine outside. They have ramps to themselves which make it wheelchair friendly and easily accessible. The next one is the Soda Bottle Opener Wala. It will not disappoint you if you are looking for good drinks. Ground floor is accessible and includes restaurants like Fuzzy Cafe, Wine Company, etc. These are the many wheelchair friendly restaurants in the capital city. These are the best places in the city where you can take your family, seniors and disabled persons where they can enjoy the food easily. Accessibility is not only for disabled, it's also for seniors. These accessible facilities are also beneficial for senior like audio video announcements for stops, lifts with more wide space, etc. can make a senior's journey more accessible and easy. Dear students, let us now summarize what we have discussed in this module. Senior tourism and accessible tourism are interconnected with each other. Accessible tourism means tourism in which services and facilities are easily accessible mainly for disabled, but in senior tourism, things are made accessible only for seniors. In senior tourism, the demands and the needs of the seniors are studied and understood. In senior tourism, more responsible and caring staff is required as senior needs more care. Senior tourism is now widely accepted by many countries and it is growing very fast. Senior tourism and accessible tourism are the 2 new types of tourism which is developing very fast. Indian seniors and other Eastern seniors' preferences is different. Indians prefer religious places for tourism, whereas seniors from the other Western countries choose peaceful places. Their demands may vary, but they need their demands to be fulfilled in the same way. Seniors prefer religious places, peaceful places, places away from cities and close to the nature. Here are some of the recommendations and suggestions to increase the senior tourism. Tailor-made counters for seniors in railway station, bus stands, public buildings so that they can enjoy the facilities without any problem. Lifts and ramps should be available in every public places. Special professional staff should be available to help seniors and disabled people in the hotels, restaurants and during their flights. And with these words, I sum up this module. Thank you.